I remember it well. I remember the must in the room. I remember the dust and its fumes. I remember the smell, the stink. I remember my chains clink. I remember being beat when I speak. I just wanted to shrink. My chains, they bound my wrist and my ankles. Dear God, am I thankful. As you could imagine, I'm not there anymore because someone settled my score. Actually, they paid my debt ×4. Listen up, this story, it ain't no bore. Oh Lord, it's a whole lot more. So I was at the auction house. I had been for weeks. I stood there naked, and you see it's different when you streak, but I was stripped down and looked at like a piece of meat. I was a slave to all the things that I couldn't beat. I tried to not eat the things that I shouldn't eat. I tried walking down the right street, but my debt, it was too big for me to meet. I could never give up enough stuff, so I became a bargaining chip on the table. The chains around my wrist and my ankles, they told me that I was worthless and unable. These chains, they defined me. It was no longer about who I wanted to be. My left hand was bound by lies, my right by lust, my feet by selfishness. That's who I was. But on Friday, Abbott came by, and oh, was he a sight to see. He was everything that I wish that I could be, but all that he is too much for me. And I stood there naked and ashamed, but Abbott walked by and he gave me a name. His son Yahweh told me I was the one that he would save. They didn't look at my scars or cared where I had been, and they chose to look past my sin. I couldn't bring myself to look them in the eyes, but I knew that they looked at me differently, like there was a purpose set for me. They knew me fully, and there was nothing left for them to see, but they waited for my gaze to rise up from my thighs as I looked them in their eyes. And the joy on their faces was inexplainable. They had to know that I was unattainable. But the moment that Abbott knew that my situation was unthrivable, I knew that his love was liable. And what happened next is indescribable. Abbott walked across the room. He was too far away to hear, but I saw his eyes bloom. And at this, I knew all of his hefty promises would become true. And whatever Abbott said, my master wasn't down for. I knew that my master wanted more to settle my score. There was no money, building, or chore that could pay the price for the sin in my core. So as Abbott was about to walk away, his son ran over and he told him to stay. And as my eyes met with Yahweh, I knew what he knew. His life was the only price that could pay. So he took my place and he decided to stay. Yahweh's coat was ripped off, my chains were unlocked. His ring removed, my condition improved. His chains were locked and I had been bought. My chains were his, he bore my sins. My lies chained around his left hand, my lust chained around his right. My selfishness bound his feet, I was free. I yelled, Yahweh, 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 don't stand in my place. I looked to Abbott and I yelled, Master, 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 don't give me this grace. Abbott held my face and said, it's okay. You can be my son and sit at my table. Child, you have a place. Then it clicked. I realized I was forever fixed. I used to be defined by shame. Selfishness, lies, and lust were my names. But this is permanent. Abbott's name will never fade. Now, I am Abbott's son and Yahweh's brother. No matter where I go or what I do, my status remains the same forever. I am unashamed.